Hello, this is Diamond Rivera of Latin Chronicles, and here we have an amazing guest. I mean, this guest, me and him go back almost decades, basically. Right now we have Baudilio Rivera. And honestly, it is a true pleasure, but an honor to speak with you because I don't know, many people don't know. I used to dance with you years ago, and when I was about, I think, 5 or 6, and I could say still to this day, you are the one of few dancers that I still look up to.
Wow.
I mean, and you were kind of the older brother I didn't have. So this interview means a lot more because the connection. You know, we've seen each other grow throughout the years, and we've seen the progression. We've seen the technique even increase, even exponentially. And to be honest, I wanted the listeners to understand who is Baudilio Rivera. Could you give us kind of an under?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, before I even continue, I just want to acknowledge you, Diamond, because not many people are having these conversations with the artists in today's salsa world. There are a few people, but it's very limited. And it gives a great snapshot to actually who the people are that you actually watch,
Yes.
the people that you actually maybe admire or that you learn from. Maybe it's through a YouTube video that you've seen from far, or you've been to their workshop, you've been to their class. So to me, this is, as much as it's an honor for you, my friend, this is an honor for me. And you said like I was like your older brother. It's funny how we have the same last name, right?
Yeah, we
Rivera
have
brothers, right?
Yeah, so people used to think we were related, but
Right.
it's from the beginning. I'm assuming it started in Starlight Dance Studio.
Oh yeah, well, just to give you a snapshot about my life, I've been dancing for a little bit over 20 years.
Yes.
And how I started was actually, I did not love salsa. I did not like it at all. I did not like Latin music. I grew up in a single parent home. So when you grow up in a single parent home, you grow up in New York. You don't really like to stay home and listen to the Latin music that's being played in your house.
Yes.
You get so influenced by the hip hop and the breakdancing, and that's how I got influenced. Listening to all the big MCs like Biggie and Tupac, and also seeing people like James Brown and Michael Jackson, who were my early influences. And little did I know that I was gonna dance, later in my life. But it started when I was 6, and my mom is one of those moms that she will map out all the live salsa concerts in New York with the Village Voice. Go to all the concerts in Battery Park, Park 52, Orchard Beach, when World Trade Center was still existent. All these great spots where there's still live music available in the summertime, and it's free. So it's like, to be able to experience that. And, when I was young, I didn't really appreciate it, until one day my mom dragged me to a live concert in Orchard Beach like she always did every Sunday.
Yes, the salsa.
Oh my yes.
Yes, at Orchard
So it
Beach.
was you had the Bombshell where they had the concert where they had the live artists, and then down the way was Ernie's Corner where Ernie would play music for hours, And Ernie's been, he was playing music for well over 30 years. So that was like a gem in Orchard Beach, So there's one time in Ernie's Corner they actually had a live band. And I don't know any of the artists. I didn't know anything. All I saw was that there was older people dancing and there was older people singing.
Yes.
So as a young kid, it didn't really attract me, Until one day I'm in Orchard Beach with my mom and I see all these young people dancing. Not only do I see these young people dancing, but I see this young guy walking on stage singing. And his voice was angelic, and it captivated me.
Yes.
And little did I know that guy just transitioned from freestyle into salsa. He had long hair, like to his shoulder. He had Coke bottle rim glasses. And little did I know that Mark Anthony was going to be the one who inspired me when I was 6 years old.
Wow.
So because I saw him, I tugged on my mom's shirt and I said, "Mom, I think I'm ready to learn how to dance." And because of that, it allowed me to be open to how my mom put me on her feet, and started moving me and started dancing with me and teaching me music. So I'm a street dancer. I was raised.
You come from it's that homegrown street dance, just sweat everywhere.
Absolutely. From the womb to the tomb.
Yes.
I grew up in the Bronx, and I'm originally from Queens, but because my mom was always in the Bronx for all these live concerts.
Yes.
Is one day when I was away in camp, my mom used to send me to summer camp, and one day my mom was actually in Side Street. So the famous Side Street.
Side Street, that is near Westchester Square.
Yes, it's right on Blondell Avenue.
Yes.
Yeah, so Side Street was one of the most famous places to go out dancing on the weekend. And my mom was there for early, after Orchard Beach, some of the people go there and they'll jam for a few hours, And then this guy announced that he was actually teaching kids in the area, and he was actually building this dance academy. And he was a few years in, and my mom has always been interested because she has 3 kids, and I'm the youngest of 3. And she goes, "My other 2 kids don't dance. I'm gonna make sure that this one dances."
Exactly. So it's like, the 2 of us have their own path.
Right.
Let me try to build a path.
Yeah, let me try to influence them,
Yes.
So that's what my mom did, and she met David Melendez in Side Street. And for those who don't know David Melendez, I consider him the godfather of the salsa world.
Yes.
I consider him the man who has really impacted and transformed how we relate to each other in the salsa world. He's the one that started the New York Congress, the Texas Congress, the Puerto Rico Children's Salsa Congress. He was the one to connect people to Japan. Like all these different things that David did. Little did I know at 6 years old that he was going to greatly impact me for years to come. And my mom put me into dance academy. I wasn't 6, but it was a little bit more like I was 8 and 9 years old.
Yeah.
And that's when I started at Starlight. And I was overwhelmed. I mean, Eddie Camacho was actually my first teacher. So Eddie, if you're listening to this, I love you, man.
Yeah.
And I used to put you through torture. So Eddie used to call me Speedy Gonzalez because I was always faster than the beat and I was always behind the beat. So it was interesting. And for the first few years, it was challenging. It was tough because I'm so used to just letting it out and expressing because that's what my mom taught me.
But now kind of honing in on what you're told and kind of the technique starts to build, the knowledge factor happens, and also just the discipline.
Right. And all that came together because my mom had the discipline to teach me.
Yes.
And my mom, she shared with me what live music was. She shared with me what Hufanya was. She shared with me all these artists from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, through the 80s. My mom's not so much into the new salsa stuff, but she really educated me and she made sure I was knowledgeable. My mom speaks Spanish fluently and she writes it, but I didn't pick up Spanish in the home. But I picked up more than that.
Yes.
I picked up our culture, I picked up our music, I picked up our dance. And Spanish came later on in life. But just to zoom through the story, a few years later down the line, my mom enrolled me into Starlight. First few years was challenging until I actually saw I was the only boy in the class with all these females. I was hitting that ripe age of 12, 13. I was like, you know what? I'll stick with it a couple more years. See where it takes me.
Because that maturity factor, the girls seem more attractive.
Totally. And I'm glad I did that because all these years later, I've been able to dance with Starlight for about 8 to 9 years with David. I was one of the original Heartbreak Boys, as well as the second generation of the Heartbreak Boys. I was able to, while I was in Starlight, what many people don't know is I was actually training with Thomas Guerrero and Joshua Gomez and Juan Matos. And I was training with those three in Santo Rico while, I was still in Starlight because I wanted to advance my training faster than everybody else.
And that is something, honestly, that is just amazing to hear because at your young age, knowing the capabilities you have and where you can see yourself in the future, that right there is maturity just to the nth degree.
I totally appreciate that, and I would love to take all the credit, but it was my mom, honestly. My mom, when I was 13 years old, joined this company called Kong Sasong with Alma Gonzalez, who's the director.
Yes.
And, my mom, it was an all-female group, and they were called Sasoneras because the name of the group was Kong Sasong. So one day, one of the group members actually wasn't there, and I had to kind of just mark their space. And Alma, the director, saw like this opportunity to have me as the only sofrito, so the only boy in the group. And because of Alma, she was the one who introduced me to Jimmy Anton. She introduced me to Carlos Koenig. She introduced me to Thomas Guerrero. She introduced me to Vitico. She introduced me to Juan Mato. She introduced me to Nelson Flores. So all these people that you come to know of, I've come to know of, I was able to get in contact with them and soak up so much information, between the 13 and 16 years old. And, little did I know I was able to go professional within Starlight. I was able to travel with the Heartbreak Boys. And, I finished a few years after that. By the time I was 16, 17 years old, I started performing with Juan Matos. And that was an awesome experience. That's my brother, man, mi hermano, And I remember those days when he built the Fogata Dance Project. The original members was me, Carlos Jimenez, Berju and Victor from Boston, Hache Machete. We had Sasha, who was also from Hache Machete. We had Jessica Ortiz, who's now J Nueva York. She's
Isn't
actually
she's
in a
on
show
TV?
now, Rosewood.
Rosewood, yes.
You know what's funny?
Morris Chestnut.
Morris Chestnut. I mean, not to digress with what I'm sharing with you, but you know what's so amazing? I posted a picture of our company class, a couple of days ago for Throwback Thursday. And what's so interesting is that those same people in that picture have gone on to be fathers, mothers, professionals, teachers, lawyers, people who actually are interested in communication, being able to do interviews, being able to be entrepreneurs. I mean, that group, because of David's influence, showed us what was possible for all these kids from the Bronx. And little do we know that we have Jessica Ortiz, who became a famous actress. She's in a show on a national public television. We have Edwin Rivera, who's actually, also an actor, and he's also an active dancer and performer and music producer. I mean, there was so much talent that came out of Starlight, and that was the bar.
Yeah,
that was the bar.
Almost the pinnacle. It was almost like a legendary status because you realize that what David taught was not just steps.
Yeah.
It was the discipline, but also teaching you the business.
Yes.
And that's what I think a lot of students in general, not just from salsa, but in life, students of any profession, that's something they lack is discipline.
Yeah.
Because we can learn anything we want, but if we don't put it into fruition,
Right.
and really hone in on what we want, and just instead of just scramble, we realize we cannot miss everything.
Right.
We have to take everything for what it is,
Yeah.
and realize that every lesson that is being taught is for a reason.
There's no such thing as mistakes.
Yes.
I don't believe in that. I mean, because the influence that I got from David, from Alma, from all these individuals, Juan Matos, Nelson Flores, I mean, Winsome Lee, Edwin Rivera, Jessica Ortiz, I mean, all these people who were the bar,
Yeah.
you know? And, what I agree with you too, Diamond, because as artists, we're so passionate and so about the art, we forget about the business. And, that's my passion, actually,
Yeah.
to share with you a little bit about myself. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm actively building a dance academy, and I'm also building a marketing company in the health and nutrition space. And the amazing thing is that I'm able to actually see how the training that I've got for the past 10 years in business and sales and marketing is actually a great part of what I do as an artist, because that's the missing link for a lot of artists. And just to go back a little bit, as I got a little bit older in my later teens, I actually started my own company, my own business. I was greatly successful because of the people I was able to build with my team, but then I also failed, which was the best learning experience.
Yeah.
Because as a dancer, we go through rejection, and it's all
Exactly.
good, We go through rejection, we go through the trips and the falls, the blood, the sweat, and the tears. And it's not about that, but it's about the process. It's not about, it's always understanding you're at the bottom of the next mountain, no matter where you are in life.
It's the journey.
It's the journey, it's the process, And luckily, as I was in my 20s, I started training heavily with Eddie Torres, and I was training with Grisa Ponce. I was able to travel with both, and really just understand more of passion, understand more of history, understand more of what this dance is all about.
Yeah.
And to share with you, Diamond, my passion is more in being able to share joy, love, and happiness through dance. And that just so happens to be through Latin music, through Latin dance. And that's my passion. When I'm working with kids, when I'm working with adults, that's my first thought, more than you coming in to learn some steps and technique.
Exactly.
Because anybody can teach that. You
Exactly.
could be right here in Danceport, or you could go to any studio in New York, because that's the how, that's the what. What most people are missing is the why. And for me, I've begun as I've gotten older is operate from my why. And my why is, again, to share, through dance, joy, love, and happiness.
Exactly. Anyone that says they love something, the most important thing really is not how did you get there, or what are you doing, it's why you're doing it.
Well, yeah, because if you operate by the how or the what, you'll get one ounce of defeat, 1 ounce of rejection, and you'll give up.
Yes.
Because maybe you're chasing it for notoriety or popularity, or you're chasing it for money, or you're looking to be the best person in the dance scene. But why are you doing it? Like, what's the why? What's the reasoning behind it? And I there's so many great dancers, so many great people and performers in this entire salsa world, and I think that's the missing link, is why people do what they do.
And I would definitely ask, I would love for the readers to know, what are some new projects you've been doing?
Yeah, absolutely.
as recent?
That's a great question. I'm actually right now, I'm an executive salsa teacher here at Danceport.
Yes, Danceport,
yeah.
New York, located
on 34th Street,
34th
22 West 34th Street.
I think right under the Empire State Building.
Yes, yeah,
correct?
Samaro's right underneath. I teach on Tuesdays and Fridays, and my passion project is my dance academy I'm building with my partner Eliani Jimenez in New Jersey. And Eliani, man, she's a rock star, man. I'm just so excited to be able to grow organically a dance academy. Our projects are coming together. We've performed together. We're actually going to be performing tomorrow here in Danceport for an event. But the amazing thing, the projects that I am working on is I'm training dancers. Because David gave me so much, Alma gave me so much, Juan gave me so much, Nelson. I mean, I could go on and on.
Yeah.
I am just the sum of all the great teachers and mentors I had. I'm no one special. The only difference between me and anybody else is just time and experience. There's no difference.
But I'm sorry to cut you off, but
No, it's
I
good.
would say is that we realize that the teachings you've been given, the teachers were doing it for a greater purpose.
Right.
We have people that can teach anything in
Yeah.
a sense, but it's really, what are they trying to open up inside of you?
Right. And that's why I connected with them. I connected with Thomas because Thomas helped me with my timing, my musicality. I connected with Joshua Gomez because Joshua was 6'4", 6'5", and he saw when I was 15, 16 years old, I was going to be over 6'2". And he's like, you know what, I'm going to train you how to be graceful in your own body and have coordination and movement. I had Juan Matos for flair and pizzazz and style, understanding how to stop on a dime, the quick, slow, that matrix move, you know?
Yes.
Just like to be able to operate inside of the context that you could color outside the line, you know?
It's
when you
almost
dance.
telling a story.
It's almost telling the story, you know? And, you know, I learned cha-cha with Alma. I learned history with Eddie Torres. I learned how to be myself and express myself with Grisel Ponte. You know, I learned how to be able to put choreography together because I was able to learn from all these people. You know, I was in a movie in September, October. It's called Shine. It's with,
that movie, honestly, people, that movie Shine, when you're able to see this, it's going to have some of the world's, not even just New York City's, I mean the world's best Latin dancers.
Oh man, and the process of filming, man, was incredible. And the director was like, I've never filmed anything like this before, where the action is so intense, the dancing so intense. It's actually real mambo, it's real salsa. It's not like, you know, some of the moves that we may have seen or shows. It's actually real New York salsa. And you know, Grisel Ponte, Ismael, Charlie Garcia, Andy Cruz, Elvis Collado, Deidre Candela, Maisha Morris, Desiree Goss. I mean, I could go on and on. George Ataka. We had Devin Flores. I mean, Kimberly Flores. I mean, there was so much talent on the set that it was just like I was in awe, really, that I was there. You know, it was just magic. And you know, I'm saying all this to say, Diamond, that my life right now has got me to a point where I am happy because of what I've done through dance. You know, if it wasn't for dance, I would have not known you. I would have not known any of these people. I would have not been comfortable in my skin. I wouldn't have been able to understand movement. I would have been an athlete, if anything. I mean, I'm a swimmer, but, you know, dancing's my passion, you know? But, you know, that if it wasn't for dance, I would not have the relationships and know the people I know. I would not have lived the life I've lived, traveled the places I've traveled, and continued spreading what this passion and what this joy and what this love and happiness is through dance, through salsa. You know, so, you know, I have much more of a passion of, you know, educating people about the history of mambo, you know, understanding Palladian mambo, understanding the New York mambo movement, the Cuban mambo movement. You know, I've been creating the possibility of actually taking a voyage to Cuba, because for most people, you know, Mecca is Jerusalem, or you know, Mecca is in the Middle East. For me, my Mecca is Cuba. As a dancer, as an artist, as a person that's connected through art and culture, you know, being able to actually be in Cuba and experiencing the life that we've actually been unable to experience or have not been able to mingle with. You know, for me, like I see all these Cuban dancers. I mean, I could go on and on, Diamond, but you know, I hope that, you know, whoever's listening to this interview, they actually understand that it's not so much about how you do anything or what you do, it's about why you do it. And you know, it's called the golden circle. Instead of operating from the outside in, you want to operate from the inside out, because people see that. I mean, you look at artists like Grisel Ponte, she just performed. That's a woman that performs from her why. You know, if you look at the way she dances, it exudes. Like, you can actually be like, you know, 20 feet, 30 feet away from her, but you can feel it, you know? So it's that, it's understanding that, and it's awareness, you know, I mean, it's all about awareness. It's not, you know, so many people are social dancing on the floor like they have blinders on, and they're not connecting with their partner, they're not creating connection and conversation.
It's almost the illusion of flash.
Right.
Overrides the meaning of passion.
Yes. Or just having a conversation, because to me, dancing is a conversation.
It is.
There's a listening and there's a talking, just like what we're doing right now. So, you know, I teach that to my students. I teach that there's this conversation happening, and you have to connect, you know? And that's what creates chemistry. And it's not so much about the fancy stuff. I can teach all the fancy stuff. But I'll tell you this, I'm about teaching the ordinary things and doing it extraordinarily well. And that comes from passion, that comes from technique. And that's where I come from. That's my why.
I would say is that an amazing quote to use is simplicity is key.
Yes, less is more.
Less is more.
You know, I tell my dancers less is more, and allow the resistance to create distance in your dancing. You know, like less is more. It's not about being so flashy and big and over the top. But you know, there's a certain appeal, there's a certain attraction to someone who controls their movement and controls who they are and their expression of dance. You know, when I'm teaching classes, you know, I may do arm styling, and it's not to teach mechanical arm styling. I just do whatever feels, because I want to teach my dancers about expression and feeling. It's not about following exactly what I'm doing or what Eliani's doing, but what we're doing overall to create expression and freedom in the dance.
And being able to help your students create their own expression, because sometimes they lack the confidence. And again, through dance, overall self-esteem of one can truly blossom.
Totally.
And to be honest, this interview has been truly just hands down beautiful. In a sense,
brother.
because of our connection of knowing each other for a long time.
We
and
know each
also-
other's families.
Yes.
I mean, we go way back,
We
bro.
go way back, and mind you, I don't even think you've known. About a few years ago, I was training with Thomas,
Get out of here.
and I performed Sonetos.
Oh, nice. I did
And
not
it's
know
like,
that.
you see how the circle works,
Circle.
and the thing is, to be honest, the one person I can thank is David. David Melendez, because without David, I would have never met you, I would have never met Edwin, and I would have never thought about dancing salsa.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for David and his talks, because that man can give you a speech like no other, he realized that the kids that came to his school, he was going to make a difference.
Yes.
Either small or big, he was going to make some type of difference in your life. And I realized, and I can say, is that any alumni coming from that school, a lot of them have grown, especially with dancing, just to be superstars in their own right, in their own realm. And I truly can say that you are one of the very few dancers from Starlight to come out of there that really is a definition of class.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We have a lot of dancers that come out in general in New York, but in the world that want fame. But a lot of people choose or don't understand what it means to leave a legacy. And I can say is that David taught us well, and he's helped us not only become humble dancers, not only passionate dancers, but dancers of humility.
Totally.
Humility.
I agree.
And that's one thing that's key. And honestly, I can say is that I see for you in the future, you being not only a legend, but a historian in this scene, because a lot of people lack the education. And I think you are one of the people that is one of the crusaders of it.
Wow.
You can say an unsung crusader, because through this conversation, people will understand that education is important. Understand where you came from to understand where you're going.
Yeah.
And Mr. Baudilio Rivera, I want to thank you.
Thank
again.
you, Diamond. I really appreciate this, man.
And honestly,
You're doing a great service for many people.
thank you. And on behalf of Latin Chronicles, on myself and you, Baudilio Rivera, I want to thank you for everything. And this is not the last that you will hear Mr. Baudilio Rivera. And people, stay tuned, because he's not just a star, he's a comet. So, good night.
Thank you, brother.